This podcast contains descriptions of extreme violence, body horror, and adult language. Please check the description for details. Viewer discretion is advised. Vex. You are unsure of anything right now. The last hazy and foggy memories that you have of anything resembling consciousness were filled with a bloodthirst or a primal desire for something that you can't really fully cognitize. Like, it just doesn't make any level of sense to you. But one of the main things which sticks in your mind throughout this is that you recall your veins, your arteries, and you feel not alien to them, but you feel as if they are both one with you and apart from yourself. And it is amongst all of this that you slowly realize that once again, it's dark. But it's different than your dreams. It's as if you're floating in a sea of nothing, but not quite nothing. It feels like it's part of you and cradling you in much the same way that you might expect in something like a sensory deprivation tank. You can't really feel any difference in temperature, any difference in pressure, or see much of anything except darkness, which you start to slowly realize is tinged red. And you realize that you are conscious in some small way. What do you think is running through your mind in this situation, with everything you've just experienced?
Vex allows this cradling feeling to sweep her along. In the same way that you feel yourself starting to wake up, but you're not ready to wake up yet. She tries to dwell within this sensation because she feels fear and anxiety and trepidation at what might be waiting for her outside of this place, and she is just in a state where she hasn't been thinking for a while and just doesn't want to.
Your sense of time is gone, as even people going through a normal life in the midst of a tank like this, in the midst of a strange fluid cradle, tend to lose their sense of time. But it doesn't last, you think. Because eventually, you don't find yourself elsewhere, but you find yourself remembering. That's something new. You haven't remembered in a long time. You flash back. You're standing next to the tree. The same tree that you vaguely remembered a few days ago? A week? Month? Minutes? You don't know. But that same memory, you're stood there, you're looking at the tree, you look to the right and you see her. You see that girl again. But this time, she's getting up. And she solemnly walks past you. You flash back again. Forward, back, you're not sure. You're in that waiting room. You're watching the TV. You see that person that you felt so familiar with again. But this time, you recognize the man that was in the desert. You see in his face the same armor, the same name. Though it doesn't come to mind straight away, you realize now that they were one and the same. The man who was being reported on live news. You just carried their desiccated corpse back from the desert. And you don't know why. You're back in the red, in the dark. And this time, you're not alone. But you realize you weren't alone this entire time. You feel a presence. Once again, not separate, not you, but a presence. And you feel them meticulously poring over every single millimeter of you. As if they are a diligent worker cataloguing every single part of you, trying to register every last piece of you for some grim purpose. You flash back. You're in an apartment. The apartment, it's dark, it's dreary, it's yours, but it's not yours. It was provided to you. It's some kind of temporary accommodation. It's smell. It reeks like nothing you've smelt before, but you know this smell now. You've smelt that every single day that you've lived in this city, because that's just what Hope's Rise is like. You walk out of the apartment. You look down the hallway. The phone is there. And you look behind you. And you see a door. And a number on that door. Cast in brass. It matches your key. You would know that it matched this key even without those numbers. That number is 47. 40 because it's the 4th floor, not because it's the 47th apartment. 4th floor, 7th apartment. You know this. You've thought this because it's gone through your mind every single day that you've been here. Every single day that you've come back, that's where you've gone. 4th floor, 7th apartment on the left. And you're about to go out, to go about your day, and you hear it again. And you don't lose control of yourself. Something about this memory holds you here. You feel present again. You feel yourself, though different. What did you do back then? What did you do when this phone started ringing?
She walks towards it.
You walk past your door again. You walk past another door, the 8th apartment. It's open. This apartment looks as if it's been burnt out. You have no idea how your own one has survived. You think maybe they refurbished it. You walk past the 9th apartment. This one's always been locked. One of its brass numbers hangs limply off of it. You walk past the next apartment. This one's door got bullet holes shot through it at some point. There's an implication of blood beneath the doorway. You walk past the final door. You're closer than you've ever been to this phone. In real memory. This door is painted differently, got fully replaced at some point. And it's pure white. Clinically white. As if it's never been touched. And you're at the phone.
She answers it.
Hey, we need you to come in. There's been problems.
Right now?
Right now.
Fine.
And you hung up. And you left. And you went there. Your vision flashes once again, and you're back in the dark, back in the red, back being cradled. You feel that presence is still there, and now they were looking at you before. It was going all across your body, but now, you feel them around your shoulders, your neck, in your head. It's back. You can feel it. And like a host of worker bees, of ants, it's just working. And with each passing second, with each passing minute, hour, day, you feel yourself feeling more and more whole, as if you're being rebuilt. And all the while, you feel each of your neurons start to flicker and connect and fire, and it's so much. It's so intense. It is almost unbearable, as every single one of your synapses is rebuilt, connected, repurposed, and put back into place. With each one, an absolute litany of sparks and electrochemical sensations pour through you. You remember something else. You remember walking through sterile hallways. You heard automated voices over tannoys and speaker systems. You remember hearing people walking down hallways. You remember walking past people you knew, people you didn't care about, though. You walk past the face that you recognized on the TV, the man whose body you just recovered. You walk past him and you give him a curt nod, a greeting, because you're used to working with him. How did you feel about him?
They worked well together.
He knew how you operated. And it wasn't that he operated in the same way, he was complementary to you. You were brought on for this assignment because of that. Because you complemented each other. You keep walking, and there's a doorway. And you walk up to it, and your memory flashes again. Some sequence of events that are so routine, so normal, so common, that you don't even commit them to memory. The same way that you don't remember your morning commute every day. The same way your brain refuses to log information that's superfluous. You go through something that never registered to you, and you flash, and you're elsewhere. You're in a room. It's sterile. It's white. Pure white. And for a second, you don't even notice the person who's in there with you, because they're just as white. They're just as pale. Not ivory, not albino. White. Shock. Snow. Like blizzards washing across your eyesight. Their hair it's almost as if it's been painted. It's the same girl that you saw before. Something about her being here just highlights how unnaturally alabaster she is. And she looks up at you, and what emotion is in her eyes in those moments? What did you see in her eyes in those moments when she looked up at you?
Oh god. Just give me a second.
No problem.
I think Vex saw, in a way, the same mystery that anybody sees when they look into the eyes of someone who they either don't know or can't remember, which is, I think, what Vex saw was almost a question, an invitation, a apprehension, as though she's waiting for Vex to do something or waiting to see what she does. And that was a mystery to her even at the time.
And you remember what she said next to you as well. Her expression didn't change much. It was kind of deadpan. And she just said, "You don't have to be so serious all the time." You flash back to the dark red, and you feel again your neurons firing, your synapses being rebuilt, and you feel this presence go off to gather something more, tools, resources, to continue their work. And while they're away, you have an opportunity to ruminate a little, to let for the first time in what feels like forever, you feel your mind returns to you ever since it was blown off in that damned no man's land. And your mind wanders. This is an opportunity for you to give me a prompt of something you would like to have your mind wander to and receive some sort of memory about. Where does your mind wander? Where do you think Vex's mind wanders to?
The odd, senseless piece of this place is at odds with, even now, even here, Vex's mind, her survival instincts, her drive to continue being a person that one has to possess to make it as a dredge. It's nagging. It's the nagging feeling of being in that half asleep state, but your brain is telling you that there's something you're oversleeping for. There's something you need to be doing. And as such, I feel like what Vex's mind would wander to is probably more memories associated with this strange girl who she seems to know. But what her ego is scrambling to try to get her to try to remember is the more mundane things that, as you said, we're prone to forgetting of. Where is that apartment? Can you remember walking to it or away from it and going somewhere else? And I'm not sure which would win.
If you are genuinely uncertain of which one you think...
I'm genuinely uncertain.
Then feel free to make me a roll.
Alright.
Oh, okay. Okay. With that one, I should point out for our listeners, you don't... It's not that your mind simply doesn't wander, but instead that you... There is some information here which is more directly useful to you. The mundanity, as you mentioned, the walk back to the apartment, the look of the apartment building, anything that could get you to know where this bloody apartment is. You just can't bring yourself to try. There's something about her that you just find yourself drawn to. And you flash back again. This time, you're sat with her. In the same room. You recognize now that there's simple furniture here. Easily wipeable and the kind of thing you'd expect to see in some kind of hospital or lab, something like that. And you're drawing. It's not in the... Your notebook's there, and you're not drawing in the notebook, you're drawing on this loose notepad. You're just sketching trees again. And she's watching you. And she walks over to you and sits down and looks at it. And she goes, "What is that?"
She blinks, not understanding the full implication. Just trees.
What are they?
Oh. She scratches side of her head a bit, realizing she isn't joking. Oh, you know, plants, like, you know, that you grow in, like, greenhouses and stuff.
Right, like... Yeah, no, I think I get fed those.
Yeah. Trees are like, well, they're a lot bigger, and, they kind of grow by themselves. Just take over big swaths of land in places and make forests, or sometimes people take care of them in small plantations and stuff like that.
Forests? Like... So, like, it's just like one big one, or there's, like, more of them?
Oh, there's tons of them, yeah. I mean, not as many as, you know, before people were around, but people, yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. People cut them down, use them to build things.
They built things with these? How big are they?
Oh, they're huge, and yeah, there are lots of them, at least in some places.
You see this joy play across her face as you describe it, this wonder. She's genuinely enraptured by the concept of these things. You almost can't blame her. It's kind of common these days to kind of be envious of people who get to commonly see these things. Most of the ones that remain, most of the forests that are still out there, they're protected or owned or something, or you have to live somewhere that's very affluent in order to be able to see them on a regular basis. But you know, it's not because of that she hasn't seen these before. You know that she hasn't seen these before because she hasn't seen much of anything before. She kind of, a little rudely, kind of grabs the paper, not sharply or anything, but like doesn't really ask, just pulls the paper over to herself to look at it. Bemused and entertained by this thing, and goes, and like the whole thing's green?
Kind of. The leaves are green. The rest is like a brown or you know, earth color.
Do you know if there's any nearby?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I certainly haven't seen one since coming here, so... Sorry. She kind of is suddenly self-conscious as she almost feels embarrassed having to tell her that there aren't any that she can go see.
You see her face fall a little with that. But then she kind of bounces back. You remember this moment, because it was the first time that you remember that she was anything other than a sullen, dour woman. And this was the first real conversation you had with her. And you're back, in the red, in the dark, and you hear muffled talking outside. Or you think you were just hearing it the whole time. You only just now become conscious of the fact that the entire time that you were remembering that your mind was wandering, you could hear this grating vibration of a deep voice almost invading upon this cradle that you're in. You hear another voice talking. They raise their voice, and the other raises theirs. That second voice is grating, but in a way you like. And then the presence returns and continues their work, and you feel a sense of catharsis wash over the presence, over yourself, you think, as you realize that their work is nearly done, as you realize that you're more whole than you were before. You did a good job. You did better than before. You did it way better than before. Last time was really hard. There was so much damage, and you didn't have time to take everything in like you did now. You didn't have time to be here for long enough to save anything. You're glad you did this time. And you slowly fade from consciousness. You fall back to sleep. A dreamless sleep. And for a bit, there's peace. You start to stir awake. Rudely, this time. For a brief moment, you feel the presence again. You feel like you can almost see it for a moment, in the dancing kaleidoscope of non-existent colors that take place behind your eyelids whenever you close them and rub them too hard. You almost see someone, and they're floating directly in front of you and looking at you. But before you can start to process any of that, before you can try to piece together any level of recognition within the face, you suddenly feel the fluid around you, and you realize now it is fluid. You are actually surrounded in fluid. You feel it start to move, to ebb, to flow, to agitate, and you feel parts of it begin to coagulate and pool together into more solid masses, to clot and bump up against your skin, which you realize now is open and exposed. And there's a thump, a second thump, the buckling of something next to you, as all of a sudden, all at once, this rush of light, of color, of sensation is returned to you in one brilliant and painful moment, as you feel yourself suddenly dragged backwards out of something, and you feel the top of your shoulders and nearly your head harshly crash into the hard, cold tile flooring beneath you as a wave of viscera, blood, and just every single fluid that you can awfully describe that would come from a person as you hit the floor. And you can't help but have the wind knocked out of you, but when you do, instead of air ejecting from your lungs, you feel an absolute deluge of effluvia just eject forth from you, and you suddenly take a deep breath in as you are suddenly returned to the waking world, and you realize that you are in the morgue of Stitch's Stitches.
She screams. She just, with each breath, starting off scratchy and weak, but with each breath growing stronger, she just panics entirely, screaming, clawing at the ground like a panic creature, just not sure what's going on.
You whip your head back and forth, you're looking to and fro to simply just get your bearings again, but there's a brief moment where you simply just have to fucking scream and just let yourself be kind of horrified at the ordeal of being in reality again. You suddenly become aware of the sound of rushing footsteps going down the hallway towards the door, and you wish you could react to it, but you're horrified at even the fact that you're kind of having to witness reality again, as the door suddenly swings open, sending forth a small wave of mostly blood that laps up against what you realize now is your naked body, as you see yourself and you realize that you are absolutely coated. And stepping through the door is Stitch. And he looks at you, and he is just aghast.
She just continues haggardly, panting, half screaming, her body just writhing with vibration and stimulus. She sees Stitch, she registers he's here, but operating half on instinct, half on the simple impulse to be away from everything. She just scrambles and scrapples across the floor as far away as she can into the corner of a room. Though, with the state her body's in, she might not even get there. But she is just writhing on the floor like a putrid being.
Yeah, you kind of start to try to pull yourself to your feet, and it's hard. Not for the fact that it's not as if you don't have, the ability to move, but it's like a deer trying to steady themselves after just being born. You can move, that you can move of your own volition instinctually, but it's just not coming to you yet. And it takes a few seconds for Stitch to kind of register that you're actually alive, that you're here, and that he's looking at you. And he suddenly shakes himself kind of back into prescience and kind of slowly approaches you and just goes, Vex, it's okay. You're safe. No one else is here but me.
Having made it at least partially towards the corner, she sort of just leans against a wall or nearby table and just hugs herself in the fetal position, just digging her own nails into her body, like in almost in a way that hurts, but it's almost self-soothing in a way, just the pain reminding her that she is here, she's alive, and that she's no longer in the endless dream.
You do that. You finally manage to pull yourself up onto a cold steel gurney that's for dead bodies. And the pain centers you. So, in terms of your bloodthirst, could you please roll me a d10? Is that a 5 that just happened?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you are actually going to have gained 2 bloodthirst in two bonds of your choice. Do you have to fill any as a result of that?
Did you say it's 2 into, or just...
No, 2 into any bonds. So you can do 2 in 1, 1 in 2, whatever you like.
Gotcha. That doesn't fill any. I'll put both points into a Stitch.
Right. You, despite the fact that you have essentially been reborn into this world with a new brain, with a new head, with new... You think everything? You're not sure? You are suddenly so aware of the fact that you are desperately hungry. It's as if you have just been on like a marathon and never replenished your fluids and didn't have a meal beforehand. You feel these cramps in your stomach, which are like unreal levels of hunger. It's as if you've been starving, and it's as if your body has been directing all of its energy elsewhere. Stitch kind of goes up to you at this point and kind of pulls out by instinct some of his medical tools to essentially just like do this check of like your eyes and everything to like see if you're okay and just give you a once over. As he walks over, there's this horrible sloshing as you hear all of the viscera that's pooled on the floor getting agitated, and you hear the clitter-clatter of what you know must be Scuttle suddenly running into the room as his legs clearly hit this pool of effluvia, and it starts to just go fucking nuts on that shit. And it is just feasting. Little buddy. Yeah. And it is just feasting in the background as this happens. Do you let Stitch like do a once over on you?
I think she trusts Stitch enough and has been in similar-ish situations enough that she doesn't, push him away or try to get away, but she does glare up towards him through matted hair, just panting, not quite able to talk yet, but like hissing through her teeth. like she's trying to communicate something.
And, yeah, he does a quick, like, it's not like an in-depth, like, analysis or anything. It's literally just, checks your pulse, checks your eyes, opens your mouth, just makes sure that there's nothing, like, immediately wrong with, like, the color of your sclera or anything like that. And, you can tell that to some degree he's doing this because it's kind of like an instinct in high-stress situations like this to simply, like, examine somebody's health. You imagine that this is not, this isn't him thinking straight. This is him just being like, all right, I've got to, oh, fuck, someone's in trouble. Let me see if they're okay, essentially. Which has always been a quality of his that he doesn't like to admit, but is there. It's why he fixes you up before you pay him. And eventually he kind of gets his senses about him as he goes, Jesus Christ, you're absolutely fucking soaked. He wanders out of the room and comes back in a few seconds later holding a, it's not a towel, it's like a cloth, but it's going to be good enough to get yourself, dry. And he kind of, helps you to your feet and starts to guide you out of the room. As you do so, in fact, you get a view of exactly what's happened to this room, to this morgue. It's not a huge morgue by any means. A private practice like this doesn't necessarily, hold funerals or autopsies or anything. It's very much for just when somebody shows up and he can't save them. You think that there's maybe only, 8 of these built-in, body containers, like refrigerators? The ones that are, in the wall where you can slide them out, You think there's about 8 of them. You had the misfortune of tumbling out of one of the ones that's on the higher level, which is why you had such a harsh wake up to reality. And you look up at the one which is now wide open, and see growing out of it and connecting to each of the other 7 are veins and tendons and muscles and various other circulatory systems which seem to be for the purpose of essentially transporting things from the other vessels into the one that you were contained within. And you see that 1 or 2 of them are in fact flung open, and you can see the remains of what looks like half pulled apart corpses, some of their bones visible, but all of them with their skulls caved in and emptied. And you see a strange, what you can only describe as some kind of flesh sack, like an embryotic sack, that is conspicuously hanging from the vessel that you just came out of. And you can see that there is some kind of dark, you can see just through through the skin, through whatever it is that's containing this, you can see that there is something dark inside of it, and something, a number of, masses that are contained as if to be protected from everything that you were just bathed within.
All of that is a bit much for Vex to process fully right now. She looks around, she looks away and would look around when Stitch brings her into the next room, just trying to recollect what might have happened to put her in this situation.
Hello, and welcome to The Break. It's been a pretty crazy one, pretty crazy last couple of sessions. I know I feel like I keep saying that, but crazy, but I love the game I'm running. I feel like that's a good thing. Regardless, before we get into any of our normal shilling and such, if you are listening to this on YouTube, which is the only place that we have our visual component, minor as it might be, I'd like to draw your attention to the screen because I'm trying out a little new thing where I just have the fan art that we've been receiving cycling on screen on YouTube while we do the break. So please check out the wonderful people. I'll have all of their ats listed next to the appropriate piece of art. thank you so much to every single person who has already sent in fan art. And on that note, let's get to the shilling, why don't we? So, first off, if you've been enjoying Heart of Hope and you want to get ahead of schedule by one episode, then you can join my Patreon over at patreon.com/eternal_savvy. Again, that is eternal_savvy. And for $1 a month, you can get hold of that episode. You can send more if you just want to be super cool and awesome and cool as hell and make me jump for joy like Mario. What the fuck am I saying? Then you can send me more money. But even the smallest amount of $1 a month is going to get you ahead of schedule one way or another, as well as my comments on, what editing the episodes were like in any given occasion, and also just discuss the episodes there as well. I do encourage people to post comments whenever they listen to the new episodes there. If you want to support me in a different way, then you can do so over on my Ko-Fi. If you don't have the money for monthly donations, then you can just send a one-time little tip over at Ko-Fi, same at as well, eternal_savvy. Similarly, if you want to watch my streams, whether they be art streams or game streams, and in time, tabletop again as well, then that is eternal_savvy as well. Same for the YouTube channel if you're not listening to it on the YouTube channel. And the only place where I am different is my VOD channel, which is staying_savvy. Also, if you are one of those wonderful people who has been sending in fan art, then you should let me know about it over on Blue Sky or my server. But if you use Blue Sky, then tag it with #Heart of Hope, and feel free to tag me as well, which is, surprise, surprise, eternal_savvy. I have loved every single piece of fan art we've received so far, and I will absolutely be putting any new pieces up during breaks from here on out, so people can actually, see what you've been doing. With that, I'm pretty sure that that's all of our shilling, because we do not have any new characters showing up from prompts this time around. So, thank you so much for continuing to watch the show. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good jazz if you're on YouTube. Rate it if you're on any RSS feeds. And let us get back to the episode. Bye-bye. You are sat down and you kind of eventually manage to calm down a little bit and kind of dry off most of the blood that's all over you. And you're kind of sat. He gets you a new cloth as well to cover yourself with, so that you're not just sat completely, buck-ass naked in the middle of this room. You're at least, somewhat decent. For a time, you are left to kind of just sit for a moment as you don't even know what Stitch is doing. He's just gathering various things and kind of being a busybody, as you would imagine. You think he might just be getting more equipment to prepare for when you are kind of together enough to get a proper look over of an EKG and all of that kind of thing. But eventually you feel your adrenaline spike subside, and you take a deep breath and you calm yourself. And Stitch walks in and he pulls up a little examination stool that he normally has and sits on it and just leans forward looking at you and just goes, "So you're alive. You're Vex, right? I'm speaking to Vex, yeah?"
Now, having calmed somewhat, her body is mostly just extremely stiff and twitchy, but she manages to clumsily raise up her head and then lower it a couple of times in a nod.
Fuck. What the fuck? I didn't think you were ever gonna come out of there. What happened? Do you know what happened? Do you remember anything?
She manages to close her eyes, take a deep breath, before looking towards him again with an intense look. Food.
Fuck, right. And he rushes out and comes back in with his own lunchbox and opens it up and just hands you a sandwich. You don't even fucking register what it is. You just start fucking scarfing it. And God, it's delicious. You know that this is probably just mid as fuck, but like, to you in this moment right now, this is like you're tasting something for the first time, and it's like the fucking best thing you've had in your life. And it's just gone before you can even, you basically fucking inhale the thing. And you feel it sit in your stomach, and you feel that characteristic explosion of like glucose and carbohydrates kind of just, you know, emanating out from your stomach as you feel it sit within it. And you suddenly, over a few minutes, you feel yourself manage to actually be a bit more human. And he hands you like a soda that he has, and you kind of go to reach for it, and he, you know, before you can just chug the whole thing, he kind of like just stops and reminds you and just goes, "Sips, you probably can't handle the whole thing right now." Do you listen to him or no?
She does. She shakily drinks. It's a bit clumsy and just to wipe her mouth, but she tries to take it slow.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's sugar, and it is nourishing you, but you do feel that you even choked a few times while you were fucking scarfing down that sandwich, and sipping this soda, you realize that the carbonation is actually pretty aggressive to your throat right now. And you do realize that you definitely did need to take it slow, sipping this thing. And he kind of lets you just take it at your own pace, and eventually kind of just goes, "Well, how do you feel?"
Better. Thanks.
Not to put pressure on you or anything, but like, I think we have some more pressing questions before anything else.
I don't fully know what happened. I was hoping you could tell me.
Right, I guess that makes sense. He kind of walked in here without a head.
What?
I probably should not have started with that. Right, so, a little more than a week ago, you showed, showed up.
Fuck.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, I'm fumbling this. Yeah, it's been a week. Frankly, I'm surprised it's that quick, considering that you've essentially come back from, you know. Yeah, so, a little over a week ago, you and Nyx walk in, and she was fucked up, but obviously nowhere near as bad as you. And you were carrying this body. You were really insistent on keeping hold of it for a while before Nyx got me to take a look at you, and you seemed to be responsive somehow. You were like walking, you were reacting to people touching you. You seemed to be fine aside from not having a head. And then we started getting you set up. I fixed up Nyx, and then I pulled out some blood, and you just went crazy. Grabbed the blood, and you grew out these weird, I'd say veins, but they weren't quite the same thing. There was some weird shit going on, and you dived for my blood fridge, took all of that, and then you jumped through the doors, through the corridor, went into the morgue, and you holed yourself up inside one of the cabinets. I tried to follow you in, and by the time I got in there, the thing wouldn't open. There was a few minutes that passed, and next thing I know, I saw all these growths coming out of the door, and they... Well, I guess you saw what it turned into. It just kept going. Every day it grew more and more until it was inside every single other cabinet that was next to you. Nick stuck around for a bit, kept coming by every day, still had her own shit to deal with, but she checked in for 4 days before she kind of realized that it wasn't going to happen anytime soon. And, well, I just kind of pretended I didn't have a morgue for the last week. I didn't want to mess with whatever was happening.
There's a long moment where Vex is just silent, thinking, running over everything in her mind a few more times. Well, to run through things for me, I assume Nick's told you some, but we were in the desert. Ran out. There was a phone, not the right phone, but called you. Wasn't
I remember.
Wasn't the right phone. Yeah, but there was the tree and some wood and a key, and we came back. Wanted to grab the body. I wanted to. Oh, he's important. I grabbed him. Then the chopper, and what I was thinking, I thought maybe it had taken a chunk of my head off, or damaged my skull or something, and that I couldn't see or hear or much of anything. I thought I was just really out of it, honestly.
No, it was gone. I pulled your jawbone out of your fucking hood.
Listen, there's something fucking weird going on, and I've remembered, not everything, but I've remembered some things, and she looks up at him for the first time. I think I gotta get out of here. I don't think I'm gonna be able to come back here anymore.
What, out of the city?
No, just here to you. I appreciate more than I could ever say how much you've been taking care of me.
Hey, Vex.
What?
I worked too damn fucking hard to tell everyone who came looking for you that you weren't here for you to stop fucking coming by now.
You don't get it. Listen, there's some serious shit going on. I remember there was an apartment, and that's not important right now. There was a lab, and there were people there. This is some full-blown conspiracy shit, Stitch. Whatever is in me that's doing this, it's something else. It's not some new augmentation or some new strain of mutation. It's like something else that's inside me, and it can think. It has its own fucking agenda that you saw play out yourself, and more so than that going on. I don't know. I mean, this goes way beyond the city. You're in danger just knowing about this. Me telling you all this is probably just put you in more danger. Fuck. This is so fucked up.
Yeah, and so is every other motherfucker who comes in here who's part of one of the fucking gangs. I'm not putting down what you're saying, and I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth. Clearly you feel strongly about this, and I'm not gonna say that you're talking shit. I don't know what you're talking about, but what I do know, Vex, is that the kind of shit that you're saying is not all that different from some of the times that I fixed up some of the higher-ups in other gangs. You'd be surprised how often they come in here and pay me to shut the fuck up. I have no idea what it's like to do what you just did, but I sure as hell know that people who stick it out on their own here, 9 times out of 10, they end up dead or they end up in a gang. You need someone with you, and for fuck's sake, I kind of consider you a friend, so I'd prefer if you didn't just stop talking to me all of a sudden.
You don't have to say that.
Yeah, well, friends are few and far fucking between, and I'd prefer to actually have some on my list rather than what everyone else in this fucking city does. Transactional horse shit. Why do you think I'm in the fucking neutral zone? It's the only place where people actually pretend to give a fuck about each other.
I've always said, if you ever need anything, I owe you. More than what money can pay, but this is... I'm always the one... I'm the trouble. I'm the fucking... This is so fucked up. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's going on.
He, at this point, I think he stands up and he actually just... I think he just hugs you. And he goes... Whatever it is, we're gonna fucking figure it out. If there's one place you're gonna figure it out, it's here. In the city. And besides, money's nice, but thanks will do.
She very weakly pushes back against him. Get off me, you stink.
That's the thanks I get.
Her hand that was pushing against him just grabs his smock or shirt, whatever else it can reach. Thanks.
No problem. Besides, kinda had to sell a couple of those pieces of wood that you brought in. So.
Right.
And not every day you come across that stuff. He sits down again, and he goes, Look, I mean what I said. I'm here to figure out whatever this shit is, and I relate to you not having all your gears in place in the head, you know. I started thinking about it more ever since we talked about my memory loss, and I realized I had more gaps in my memory than I like to admit. I should probably tell you about a few things as well. You know what the city's like. A week passes and a million things change. First of all, I suppose I'll let you know that Brimstone's looking for you. Came by here, yeah. He was not happy either. When he came by here, he was... Guy likes to play it cool, but I could tell that he was about to fucking kill someone if they talked wrong to him. Luckily, I don't give a fuck, because I fixed up my own brain more than once. Managed to get him out of here. He doesn't know you're here.
You should try losing your head completely. It might help restore some of those gaps.
He raises his eyebrows at that. So, out of character, let me, first of all, why don't you take in the map as it is here, before I switch you to the new map, with the update after a week of changes. So, I will draw your attention to a few places. One, first of all, as I said, pretty much exactly a week has passed. We're now on week 2 of the game. Next up, he informs you of something fairly important in the city in general, which is changes of territory. Normally kind of just a day in, day out thing. A lot has happened. So, remember that little outcropping of takeover that the Collectors had been doing into Section C's territory? Section C managed to essentially push back out, and they are at risk of retaking an entire, several neighborhoods of the city again. It's been an absolute bloodbath going on down there. Something has been happening with the Collectors that has meant that they have been struggling in a number of places. Additionally, we also have something very worrying and very strange. They of Clay are holding a position within the Collector's territory, and it's where the Grow Tower was that you were hearing about. So that's the main shit that went down that you would be told about immediately. The other thing to update you on is this, which is that the Foundling Creed, whereas Section C managed to push into Collector territory and is at risk of taking over a large section of neighborhoods, the Foundling Creed have managed to push pretty heavily into Section C territory, around where the connection to the neutral zone is. Pretty much due directly east from Stitches, and he tells you that essentially there has been way more Section C and Foundling Creed people coming in and out of his place, purely by virtue of he is right next door to where people are getting fucked up royally. There was no indication that this was about to happen until suddenly shit just blew up around there. And you remember that there was some kind of investigation going on that you were kind of told about, that there was some guy holed up in a place in Section C. It seems that has turned into the center of essentially an outpost takeover campaign from the Foundling Creed. Pretty fucking gnarly over there. Lots and lots of fucking gang war stuff going on right now. So, yeah, you get told about that, and you kind of just take all that information in before he kind of looks to you and goes, by the way, when I left the room earlier, I quickly just checked if I missed anything in the morgue, and he kind of walks out the room again and grabs that amniotic sack that you spotted, and there's a small hole that's been cut into it with a scalpel, and you see some black fabric kind of pulled out of it a little bit. Don't know how, but whatever fixed you up was considerate enough to keep your shit safe. And he sets it down, and you see that, yeah, it's the gear you were wearing. It's your armor, it's your hood, it's your shoes, it's your journal. It's all been kept safe inside of this sack as if it was packed away nice and safely. before you were bathed in bodily fluids.
Vex's mouth is kind of a horizontal line looking at that, but decides not to think about it too much.
So, what's next? You said you found this apartment or something.
If you want me to keep coming back here, then the condition is that I'm not going to be able to tell you everything. I don't want to tell you everything, because the more you know, the more someone's going to want to try to drill out of you.
Fair enough. Appreciate that.
But the phone is in an apartment in the city somewhere. I don't know where it is. But if I can find the building or the compound or wherever it was, maybe I'll find another clue, I guess. I feel like I'm being led there somehow.
Oh, how could I fucking forget? That guy you brought in, the corpse? I assumed that it was important considering how tightly you were holding on to it.
Yes, he's important.
Okay, I was right. I'm glad I did then. You're like in what is essentially his like little office where he does his paperwork at the moment. He was seemingly somewhat unbothered by you being absolutely filthy. He wanted you to be somewhere more comfortable in a fucking operating room. He kind of goes, he kind of like looks to you and goes like, I mean, I can take you to him now, or do you want to get dressed first?
Let's just go. It's fine.
You walk there. You've just got the towel on you basically, and around your shoulders. And he takes you into the operating theater, and he's got one of those curtains, like the portable curtain railing that you can like put around the bed, and he's got it off in a corner, and he draws it open, and it's a little worse for wear from when you grabbed it. It seems that he did absorb a couple of pretty nasty, high-caliber anti-personnel rounds for you. Not that it mattered. But, yeah, he's pretty badly decomposed, but not in a way that smells, because it's just so dry.
She looks at his face. She tries to remember any more details.
The only details that come to you is that recognition in the corridor on TV. You suddenly feel this rush of, like, all the times that you passed by him. All the times that you had conversations with him, the times that you shared drinks with him, the times that... None of them are detailed, none of them give you anything beyond just, like, essentially, like, single frames of you in some kind of dive bar, in a restaurant in the city, and the hallways, those same sterile ones, all of them singular images, various things going on, but in every single one of them you feel this respect for him. And your eyes wander down to his armor, and you see around his neck is a dog tag.
She looks at it.
There's this tense feeling behind it, as if there's like this unappreciated gravitas to this. This is the name of someone you used to know. It's almost in slow motion that it pops out from under his shirt, and you flip it around and you look at it, and it says, Garrett Carpenter. You can't help but feel the irony in the name Carpenter.
And is he the one that you mentioned that she worked well with in the past?
The very same. The person that you worked well with, that you had the positive feelings with, that you were called in on some assignment together for because of the fact that you complemented each other's skill sets well. And, perhaps most notably, the person you saw being reported on the news while you were in some kind of waiting room. And it's in that moment that you remember what that news broadcast was about. They were saying that Garrett Carpenter was essentially a armed and dangerous terrorist who had just recently committed crimes against essentially the government in the outside world, in the places which are very definitively not Hope's Rise. And that, should anyone see him, they should report him immediately to the local authorities. And to stay away from him because he's dangerous.
Do you know who this is? She moves to show the name to Stitch.
He looks at it, and I'm going to make a roll here, because he has gaps in his memory as well. You see him scratch his head, the spot where there's the awful deformation, for a second. And he goes, weirdly the name rings a bell, but I wouldn't be able to tell you how. Garrett Carpenter. I remember hearing that name once and being like, oh, Carpenter. Must be in a lot of work these days. Sorry. He hands it back to you, and he goes, maybe he's got more on him. I mean, you found him in no man's land, just shot dead, right?
She, leans over him, and she examines the armor itself closely as well. Sort of, she's not an expert by any means at, combat armor and all the types of equipment out there that exist, but she's willing to wager a guess that it's probably at least somewhat different from most of what you see in the city. Still, she tries to examine it, memorize it, and slowly take him out of it as best she can, so that she can better search him. You begin to take off his armor, to take off his various packs and other stuff he has on him. Curiously, or maybe not curiously, you know how, or you know why, he doesn't have a weapon on him, and you're gonna guess it's because it got poached by someone who got themselves killed out there at some point as well. Weapons are high priority here in Hope's Rise, after all. But as you're taking everything off of him, you suddenly feel this grief. And you suddenly kind of become aware of the fact that you're essentially stripping this man for his funeral. You knew him. You respected him. And he's dead. And you don't even remember why. Vex tries to bite her lip and shut out the feelings. She's more than used to doing that by now in this city. While she wants to know who he is or was to her, she wants the best of both worlds, where she wants to know him but doesn't want the grief to wash over her. This whole time, even though she's trying to figure out her memories and figure out her past, subconsciously I think Vex has been viewing it like you would learning about your grandmother's past or another relative. You want to know them. You want to know where you came from, but it's not really you, it's a different person. And because of that, she just reflexively, not because of any ill will or anything else, but just because it is a reflex for her, tries to shut out her feelings about him and tries to just clinically absorb information.
And you do, surprisingly enough. Your hand wanders over to one of his packs, and you find a number of items. One of the packs contains a bunch of shattered glass. You realize that they were some kind of laboratory samples, now completely fucked, basically. Whatever was in them is long inert. You find in another pack is what looks like some kind of... It's some kind of, like, diagnostic device. It's intact, but it seems to have run dry of whatever battery it had. It's a fairly chunky-looking thing, and you would have to boot it up to be able to tell exactly what it does or what its purpose was. But it does have this ergonomic grip to it, with a trigger and a small, like... This is something that you don't really see that often. It's like a very small screen, which isn't like the... I can't remember what they're called. It's not LCD, it's the stuff which, like, you know, which it just has, like, black, static, like, stuff on it, like on a calculator. It's not one of those. It's actually, like, a genuine screen. It's a little CRT, which you would see in, like, a television, but reduced down small to be an actual, like, full display. And, it has these various antennae and everything. You can't help but feel a little bit, I suppose, maybe not excited, but intrigued to work on this thing and figure out its internal workings. And the other thing that you find is a disc. A disc that remains mostly intact in a plastic jewel CD case. And it's just labeled H.
She sets both of those somewhere safe.
And that's pretty much it.
She similarly piles the armor on a nearby shelf. Feel free to take him, I guess.
You sure?
I mean, what am I going to do with him?
He nods and covers him again. There's a few moments of just getting shit together, putting things in place, before you just walk into the next room. And you're joined by Stitch, as he finishes basically just putting things together to get him, you know, in the morgues to get disposed of once it's cleaned up again.